Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
So check it out. The D6 Squad has merch now. We got hoodies, tees, mugs, whatever you need. Check it out. Link in the description. What's going on YouTube? Diggy546. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new. Like the video if you like the video. And I won't tell if you click that bell. But let's go ahead and get into this. So whenever I get a chance to make these kinds of videos, it's always exciting. I wanted to talk about leadership and why I believe Joe Judge did such a great job. And this is going to be very loose. These are going to be very loose concepts. I'm in grad school for things that are related to this. And the first thing that comes to mind is organizational change. And I kind of want to apply some of that to what Joe Judge was able to do on the Giants. Now, I'm going to come out with a more in-depth video for what I believe any NFL coach needs to be able to do in his first couple of years to instill a winning culture in any organization. Be on the lookout for that. But specifically with Joe Judge, first off, he came in, and this is a big point. When I speak to people who are experts in organizational change and culture building, this is the first thing that they talk about. You have to keep your word. You have to make sure that you follow through on everything that you say, because when you're coming into a new environment, people, they're sizing you up. You have to build rapport. You have to build rapport and communicate. So the first thing that Joe Judge did after he gave the speech that had everybody doing backflips and say, we have the coach, we have the guy, he came in and he applied every single thing that he talked about in that speech. He applied his first year to the New York Giants. We won more games than we have won in a number of years. A lot of fans predicted us to go 5-11, 6-10, and that's what we went, and we competed in every single game. That's another thing. The Giants competed. It kind of got a little rocky towards the end of the season when DJ had the injury, but for the most part, the Giants were in every single game, and Giants fans felt that we always had a shot to compete every single week. And that's building rapport with the fans. That's one thing that he had to do. But as far as with the players, he's shown consistently that he's not above criticism. He's not above the rest of the players. He's not above his coaches. Joe Judge immediately established that he's a part of this team. He's, diving in the mud with the players, doing drills. He's mixing it up with people. He's really making sure that these players know that this is a relationship, that I'm listening to you, you're listening to me. I empathize with you as a person. He's mentioned, I empathize with you as a human being. There's been a number of times where players had to leave and he's excused them for practice, for family reasons. There's been a ton of things that Joe Judge has done to show that he empathizes with his players. And that's one thing that Tom Coughlin had to kind of learn, that he can publicly empathize with his players. And that makes him a better coach. That makes him a better leader. That makes him a better bringer of culture. It makes you an overall better leader once you build that rapport with your team. And, building that rapport with the fan base is incredibly important too, because those are the people that are setting the narrative. Building a rapport with the reporters, those are the people that are really setting the narratives. So I think Joe Judge did a great job building rapport. And then when you look at other basic competencies that a coach needs to have, of course, knowing the X's and O's, which we know he knows. He brought in all teachers, people with backgrounds that align with the culture that he's trying to build. And I think he did a great job at that. When you're building a culture, another thing that you really need to do is come in with a set of goals. You come in with that set of goals, which he verbalized when I say keeping your word. But you come in with a set of goals and you keep that goal in mind. Everything that you do is towards that particular goal, and that starts with who you hire. Patrick Graham, a great coach who has a similar mindset, a similar philosophy to Joe Judge. That is our offensive line coach, Dave DeGuglielmo, who replaced Mark Colombo because he did not have the same mindset and the same philosophy as Joe Judge. It's not, it doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be a big show about it. It's just conflicting ideas do not further this ship and going towards establishing the culture that Joe Judge is trying to build. So wish Mark Colombo luck, but he's not going the same direction that we're going. And that's fine. But he was able to do that. You see Golden Tate stepping out of line, complaining about not getting targets. He said one of his first couple of days, we will absolutely not be selfish. We won't complain publicly to the media about teammates. We will be accountable for ourselves. And that's what he did. He benched Golden Tate because Golden Tate wanted to come out and, complain about targets. And Golden Tate didn't say anything else about that. And you really didn't see any other problems with the team. That's where Ben McAdoo fell short. That's where Pat Shurmur fell short. They didn't follow through. And they made a lot of promises and had a lot of goals, but they did not do the necessary steps in between to make sure that those goals got completed. When you look at Andrew Thomas, I think he was benched for like a quarter because maybe he was late to a meeting, something like that. I mean, really building that foundation of these are the rules, this is what we're working towards, and this is how we can get it done. I mentioned this over and over in the offseason in July and June and May and April. Joe Judge is a dissertation away from getting his doctorate in education. And what I think the most important part of being a head coach and the most important part of what Joe Judge communicated in his press conferences is the why. When you're teaching players techniques, when you're telling players that they have to do this, you have to explain why. These are grown men with families, with kids. You don't just demand, you don't just command people to do things. Matt Patricia had issues with that. And Joe Judge gets compared to him because he's a Belichick guy. But you don't just order people around without reason. Joe Judge said he makes sure, and all of his coaches under him make sure, that when they give any kind of direction, they tell them why this is being done. Why is this happening? Why do we want you to line up like this? Why do we want you to, play coverage like this? Because just imagine if Patrick Graham is telling all of these great schemes, but the players don't believe in the why, they don't believe in the mission. They're out of place. We're giving up touchdowns. The defense isn't the same. So it's incredibly, incredibly important. And apply this to your regular life. If you're trying to manage anybody, you're trying to manage your kids, you're trying to talk to your kids. You don't just give out orders without the why. And you don't want teammates, you don't want to raise children that just blindly listen to orders. So that's what I believe the most important thing as far as just the leadership part and not the X's and O's. I believe that was the most important thing that Joe Judge and his coaching staff did. And like I say, he's almost a PhD. Patrick Graham, I think he got his degree from Yale. So we got a really smart coaching staff. And I'm just so glad that we got Joe Judge and got Patrick Graham for now. I think they represent a lot of things that I believe in for leaders, for people who can bring about organizational change, and I'm satisfied. So if you all like this, I'm probably going to be coming out with a more general video on what I believe coaches need to have to succeed, applying that to, the vacancies like Eric Bieniemy, a lot of these coaches that are trying to become head coaches. What do they need to get done in their first year to succeed? Be tuned for that. Let me know if you're looking out for that. And thanks. So if you made it this deep into the video, I'm calling you a D6 Squad member. If you're a D6 Squad member, you got to hit that subscribe button. You got to turn on that notification bell. And listen, I make all kinds of content for NFL teams. So if you're not a Giants fan, don't worry. I'll cover your team. If I'm not covering your team, let me know. And have a good one.